It is time for Pat Riley to officially step down with the Miami Heat organization, and it's time for him to enjoy his retirement. Let me fully explain. I'm not saying that Pat Riley has been a major disappointment with Miami. That's asinine to say. This man has won multiple championships with this organization. They've had multiple postseason runs because of Pat Riley in the past. He's going to go down as an all-time great in the NBA as a head coach and most definitely as an executive with the Miami Heat. He has 9 championship rings. I don't want this video to come across that Pat Riley is overrated. He's a great basketball mind, but that's in the past. When we look at certain players as they wind down their career, many people may say, hey, they're washed up. They just don't have it anymore. I look at Pat Riley. He's not that guy anymore in the front office. He helped build that big three many years ago with Bosh, D Wade, and LeBron. He made that roster, and they were the best team in the Eastern Conference for many years. They won multiple championships. He put the right players around Eric Spoelstra, who was one of the youngest head coaches at that time in his career. You brought in Ray Allen. You had Shane Battier, Chris Anderson at the center position. Very good basketball team. Mario Chalmers, Norris Cole. You got the most out of those players. And you're going to deal with a rebuilding stage when players like LeBron leave, when Chris Bosh is dealing with the blood clot issue. And I hope that everything is doing well in his life right now because he was an amazing player before that happened to him. But it's the roster mismanagement year in and year out over the last 7 years. This isn't just a 1 to 2 year incident. The biggest free agent signing since they signed LeBron and Chris Bosh has been Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler was an amazing player with the Miami Heat. He got this team to not just 1, but 2 NBA Finals appearances. Unfortunately, they were not able to capitalize when they went to the NBA Finals, but they overachieved. They went against the Lakers in the NBA bubble, COVID year. Couple of years later, it wasn't a fluke. They went against the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals, and they lost in 5 games. They lost to the Lakers in 6 games in the bubble. They were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference with Jimmy Butler. And his best teammates were Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. At that point in time, you should have moved on from either Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo and push all your chips in. They had a chance to go out there and trade for James Harden many years ago when he was with the Houston Rockets. They didn't want to move off of Tyler Hero. And I know James Harden in the playoffs isn't a great player, especially in Game 7. I fully understand that. But you should go all in with Jimmy Butler, who was at that point in time in his early 30s. He's proven to you that he can win big in the NBA playoffs. So go out there and make one more major splash. They didn't. You had the chance to bring in Harden. That didn't work out. You had the chance to bring in Dame from the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, it's a lot of reports that the general manager with Portland, he really dislikes Pat Riley. Borderline, he hates this man on a personal level. But I'm not going to use that as an excuse to why you can't get a deal done. Business comes first in the NBA. We've seen this before in baseball, the NFL, the NBA, even in hockey. A lot of these executives, they don't like each other. But if it's the right deal to be made, they'll make the deal. They had a chance to bring in Dame. That didn't work out. He goes to the Milwaukee Bucks. Kevin Durant is the latest trade target that they missed out on. You knew that the Phoenix Suns had to move on from Kevin Durant. They needed draft capital. There's a lot of reports that are coming out that the Miami Heat did not want to give up Khalil Ware. I fully understand that. He has a lot of upside as a center, and he's in his early 20s. You keep him around. But it was also another trade offer that was pushed out there. They didn't want to get rid of Hayward Highsmith, who was a solid bench player. You could have gave him up, Jaime Jaquez, a first-round pick, Terry Rozier, and Andrew Wiggins. But they did. And that's a rumor that came out with the Heat. But they came second to getting Kevin Durant. He goes to the Houston Rockets. Many years before even these free agents and these trade targets came up, they pushed all their chips into one player, and that was Gordon Hayward. Many years ago, when he came off that red hot season with the Utah Jazz, instead of him coming to the Miami Heat, he goes over to the Boston Celtics. You're seeing year in and year out, Pat Riley is losing his touch because he has that old way of thinking. He isn't able to go out there and adjust with today's NBA. When you look at today's stars, you may say they're very sensitive. That's true. Look at this, for example. Pat Riley called out Jimmy Butler. He called out Tyler Hero. He called out Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler was talking with a fan. He did not record the video. Another fan did. He was joking with a fan and he was saying, hey, if I was able to play against the Boston Celtics, you guys would be in trouble, and you know that. And Jimmy Butler was just kidding around. He went on his way. Not even a full 24 hours later, here comes Pat Riley in a press conference in front of everyone, calling out Jimmy Butler, saying if you're not able to play on the court, you should keep your mouth shut. Then he goes over to Tyler Hero out of nowhere, who had nothing to do with this conversation, and he says that this man is not durable enough and he's relatively soft in my eyes, which is crazy. You're calling out your own players. Now, Tyler Hero, he took it on the chin. He really didn't care. He went out there and he had a career year this year as soon as they traded Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, he wanted another contract extension with this organization. And when those comments came out, there's a lot of reports in Jimmy Butler's camp that he was unhappy with that. Jimmy Butler wanted a contract extension. Once he saw that was not going to happen with the Miami Heat, you guys know what that led to. Jimmy Butler forced his way out of Chicago. He forced his way out of Minnesota. You guys knew what was going to happen with Miami. He made everyone uncomfortable. They suspended him for being late. They went out there and they tried to make an example out of Jimmy Butler. They said, we're not going to trade you. Just for a couple months later, they traded him to the Golden State Warriors. He signed a contract extension with Golden State. They went to the NBA playoffs. They went to the second round against the Timberwolves. Where did the Miami Heat go as soon as they traded Jimmy Butler? They went on a 10-game losing streak because they did not have enough talent to surround players like Bam Adebayo, and the same with Tyler Hero. You got Andrew Wiggins back, but Andrew Wiggins always misses a lot of time because he's dealing with a lot of problems off the court. We've seen him deal with problems off the court with the Golden State Warriors. So he won this 10-game losing streak. The longest losing streak underneath Coach Spoelstra, who is an amazing head coach, by the way. You go to the play-in tournament, you defeat the Atlanta Hawks, you run into the Cleveland Cavaliers, you got smoked by the Cavaliers. Now, the Cavaliers were an all-time team in the regular season. They were a top seed in the Eastern Conference for a reason. But you look at how the Miami Heat got punched down. They looked like a JV team going against an NBA team. They got outscored in this series, 504 to 382. That last game, in Game 4, they got blown out. They lost by 55 points. It's the worst loss in Miami Heat history, especially in a playoff game. They were down by 60 points in the third quarter before the Cavaliers went out there and they pulled their starters, and you still lost by 55 points. The talent is not good enough. And Pat Riley comes out. He says it's going to be major changes. And the same with Bam Adebayo. I don't listen to the players, and I don't take much of what they say when they come out into the press conferences with the exit interviews. They don't control the roster. The players don't. It comes down to the general manager and it comes down to the coach. This is a special case because Pat Riley has a stranglehold on the Miami Heat. Just Miami in general. You missed on free agent after free agent. You missed on trade after trade, and you go to sleep at the wheel. We're in day 3 of free agency. And what have the Miami Heat done? They traded Duncan Robinson to the Detroit Pistons, and he signed a 3-year extension with them. A 3-year deal with them. That's the only move that the Miami Heat have made. And more than likely, they're going to go out there and run it back with Tyler Hero, with Bam Adebayo, with Davion Mitchell, with Khalil Ware at the center position. These are solid young players, but this is not a championship roster. If you weren't able to win a championship with Jimmy Butler playing out of his mind, what tells you that you can go out there and win a championship with this team? And look, I could be wrong, but I'm saying this as a Miami Heat fan. For all of my life, I've seen this same song and dance before. Jimmy Butler's out there playing with undrafted free agents like Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, and Coach Spoelstra is getting the most out of those players. The same with Matt Strus. They're overachieving because of the coaching that they have and because they had that one great player in the postseason. They don't have that right now. They have to go out there and make a major move this offseason. And you look at the Eastern Conference, even though it's regarded as the weaker conference out of the East and the West, every team in the East is making moves right now. Even the teams that are rebuilding. You look at the Brooklyn Nets. They made the move to move off of Cam Johnson. They traded him to the Denver Nuggets. At least they get a first-round pick back. They had 5 first-round picks. And they used all those first-round picks. At least they're rebuilding into a different direction. The Philadelphia 76ers, when they're fully healthy, they have Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe. They have more talent than the Miami Heat. You look at the Wizards, they're making moves. They're not a top seed in the Eastern Conference. They're far from it. But at least they're making moves to try to go into the right direction sooner than later. You look at the teams above the Miami Heat. The Orlando Magic had the 7th best record, 1 seed above Miami. They have Paolo Banchero. They have Franz Wagner. They bring in Desmond Bane. Yes, they trade a lot of first-round picks. They're pushing all their chips in on their young core. They're making moves. The Milwaukee Bucks, they made a move to bring in Jrue Holiday many years ago. They won a championship. Not only did they do that, they moved on from Jrue Holiday. They brought in Dame, and it didn't work out in their favor. They moved off of Dame. They bring in Miles Turner. At least they're trying. Their front office is being active. Pat Riley is not being active right now with the Heat. The New York Knicks, they bring in Jalen Brunson, big-time free agent. They make a move to go out there, and they bring in Karl Anthony Towns from the Minnesota Timberwolves. They move off of Julius Randle. At least they're making moves to their roster. The Boston Celtics, my goodness, look at what they've done. They bring in Jrue Holiday. They ship him out. They win a championship. They bring in names over the years like Kyrie Irving, like Gordon Hayward, while the Miami Heat basically do nothing. They get the 2nd-tier free agents. They get the 3rd-tier free agents, and they expect for Coach Spoelstra to go out there and make these guys great. You can have all the heart that you want in the NBA in any sports league, but eventually, if you're outgunned and you're outmanned by talent, you're going to lose 9 times out of 10. That is what's going to happen. They have an amazing head coach and Coach Spoelstra. You have solid young players. Hero, Bam, Khalil Ware is just not good enough. And Tyler Hero, I want to give him his flowers. He had a career year this year. They were going to move on from just making Jimmy Butler be the number 1 option anyway. That's why Tyler Hero had the year that he had this season. 24 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, shooting 47% from the field, shooting 37% from 3. Hero's become a very good player in the backcourt, just not a number 1 option on a championship team. Bam Adebayo, I have a lot of frustrations with Bam. Not on the defensive end. He's one of the best defending players in all of the NBA. He's phenomenal. But on the offensive end, especially when they had him playing the center position, and this goes back to my Pat Riley argument, you see that Bam is not a true center. He's 6'9". He's undersized. When he went against Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard in the NBA bubble, they bullied him. And I know that he suffered a neck injury in that series. He was too small. When they went against the Denver Nuggets, he could not guard Jokic one-on-one. Not too many centers can, but Jokic is getting whatever he wants at the rim. Bam is more so of a versatile defender that can guard positions 1 through 4. Now they have Khalil Ware playing alongside him, but Bam has never played with a true center. He's had to be that true center year in and year out. Why are you putting him in this situation? And once again, that's all on Pat Riley. You're expecting for a player to go out there and play out of their comfort zone and play up to the next level. And Coach Spoelstra is doing the best that he can with that undersized lineup. You don't have to worry about that anymore because you have Khalil Ware. But I'm just using that as an example in the past. And due to the fact that Bam Adebayo is so undersized to be a big man in today's NBA, especially when you go against a double big lineup. For example, you go against the Houston Rockets, you may be cooked if Bam's your starting center because you have Şengün, you have Steven Adams. He's not going to look at the rim. We saw this happen against the Boston Celtics when they had Robert Williams. He's just rejecting whatever Bam had to put up at the rim. So Bam has to go out there and settle for mid-range shots. And Bam is not an aggressive shooter. That's not his game. He had a down year this year on the offensive end, and they gave him a massive contract extension to be the star player with the Heat, but he's not going to be a star offensive player in the NBA, and that's fine. As a number 2 to number 3 option, he's fine on the championship contending team, but not as a number 1, and the same can be said for Tyler Hero. Davion Mitchell is a very good defending guard out of the backcourt. His offense is very rough around the edges. He averaged 8 points a game. He did shoot 40% from 3. That was a career high this year for him, but he's not shooting over 5 threes a game. Maybe Coach Spoelstra can get more out of him. And as far as Andrew Wiggins, like I mentioned before, he has all the potential in the world, but you got to see him with the Golden State Warriors. He was more so of a number 2 to number 3 option with Golden State. He wasn't the sole reason why they won that championship. He helped them out a lot against the Boston Celtics. Don't get me wrong. But he's not going to go out there and be the main reason to why you win a championship. I don't view the Miami Heat as contenders right now. and let's just say they go out there and they sign Dame because he just got waived by the Milwaukee Bucks. He's coming off a torn Achilles injury, and he's 34 years old. You should have traded for Dame when he was available. You should have went out there and got Kevin Durant, even though he is heading towards his late 30s. He would still be a very good upgrade playing alongside Tyler Hero and Bam. This video is not for me to come out and hate on Pat Riley. I appreciate everything that he has done for this organization. But I'm sick and tired of people going to the press conference room and they're afraid to speak up against this man. He calls out players year in and year out. He talks about how this generation is soft, how these players can't go out there and perform. They're more so worried about TikTok views and likes. What have you done as a general manager? All those things can be true about today's players. Some of them, they're out of their minds with social media views. I'll agree with that. But what has Pat Riley done within the last 5 to 7 years to help out Jimmy Butler? What has he done to help propel this organization forward into winning a championship? He hasn't done much. He's went to sleep at the wheel. And yet it's another offseason of just empty promises again by this front office. It's time for him to retire. He's 80 years old. You've won your 9 championships. Let Alonzo Mourning go out there and let him take over the general managing position and let him be the main executive with the Miami Heat. And if you don't want him to be the executive, have Coach Spoelstra go to the front office. That's what the Celtics did with Brad Stevens a few years back. He went from being the head coach. They pushed him to the front office. I do believe one day, and I would love to see this happen sooner than later, to where Coach Spoelstra steps down as the head coach. He goes up into the front office and he brings in his guy as the head coach. And we've seen situations before to where you could possibly be like Greg Popovich. You could have a strong saying on who you want to bring in and who you don't as a head coach and as a general manager, but that's putting a lot on your plate. You solely want that guy to just worry about one thing. When you're the coach and the general manager, it's a lot of things that can go wrong. You're worried about so many different things. And now you're going from being the player's coach to being the man that deals with business on the other side. I don't think that Coach Spoelstra wants to deal with that to where now you control how much this man's going to possibly get paid. And you're telling him, hey, go out there and set a screen. Go out there and roll to the basket. You just rub players the wrong way. You'd rather for them to deal with the general manager when it comes to the contract, and you'd rather deal with the head coach when it comes to the adjustments. But something has to change this organization sooner than later. And I'm tired of running it back year in and year out with Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, with them quote unquote being the next stars of the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo is 27 years old. He is who he is at this point in time of his career. Tyler Hero, he may be able to go out there and average 25 to 27 points a game. But can he help you win in big moments? And can he be that leader with the Heat? But let me know in the comment section below. Am I tripping about the Miami Heat? Should Pat Riley still be able to go out there and make decisions long term? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.